Well, as manager, one of the things you've definitely been behind is putting together Billy and the Kids, which combines some younger musicians and kind of digs into the Grateful Dead repertoire in a different way. How did you Benjy? Obviously, you were friends and fans of all the other musicians in the band, but what was the process like of putting that together? I guess Magner was probably the first.
Well,
member
Magner was the first because I remember some evenings with Billy in Hawaii when we would be would have celebrated and we'd get dinner and inevitably we'd want to listen to music, and I remember putting on some of Magner's stuff and saying, this guy plays in a band that is so different than the Grateful Dead, but he himself is a Deadhead, and he brings that to it. And this is a band that was influenced by by like the improvisational side of the Grateful Dead, and all the Dead set the standard and the bar for everyone. And I remember being at Camp Biscuit telling Magner, one day you're gonna play with Billy, and he's like, yeah, whatever, kid,
Right.
Sure. And I kept on telling Billy, I was like, one day I'd love it if the chance comes, I think that you would get along with this guy Magner and you guys would play great together. And it was planting the seed and then letting it kind of unfold and play by itself. And when it happened, of course, it was not only a dream come true, but it worked. It was a great match. They do play great together. And Tom Hamilton came out of watching. I mean, he was always in my mind as a pitch. And he and Magner have a great chemistry together. But the question was, would he and Billy? And then I saw him play Help Slip Franklin's on Jam Cruise with Magner. And I was like, oh my God, all it's missing is Billy. And on Jam Cruise, George Porter Jr. sat in on bass. And of course, with Billy and George Porter Jr. going back, I thought that was great. But there really was only one choice for bass player for that band, which was Reed Mathis. Who is just, Billy can tell you about his history with Reed, but Reed's incredible.
He's an amazing player. The first time I played with Reed, I had no idea how over-the-top confident and he's really good at improvising and making stuff up right on the spot, which I love. And he played on the first Seven Walker album with me and Papa, and a good musician plays to the music, okay? And there wasn't improvising on that. There wasn't long jams on that record or anything. But he played nice and simple, just like you want, 1 and 3, just down and been nice. And I didn't ever think he was any, And then I got to play them again on another gig. I'm like, holy cow, did I underestimate that guy? It was like, oops, I really made a mistake. I should never do that anyway. It's not a good habit. But he is an incredible player. He can do things like this. He can keep the groove going on the 1 and the 3. Then he has like an octave divider up and down. He'll divide octave up. And he'll be hitting notes here while he keeps the 1 and 3 going, doing a whole solo on top of his other notes, right? And I'm just like sitting there going, oh, I can't believe what I'm hearing. And so we trade for each other. I'll hold solid for him, and he can go way, way out. Then he'll do the same for me, hold solid, and I can go out and jam on top of him.
It was a very happy day when Billy said we need to secure the bass player today. And he had Reed Mathis, and that was from Billy. Bill was like, I want to get Reed. And I remember opening up the newspaper that day and looking at the classifieds, and sure enough, Reed Mathis says, I would like to join my 19th band of the moment.
Yeah, he plays in 10 bands a week easily, It's crazy, or a day, right? Yeah. He's an amazing guy.
All of which sound completely different from each other.
Yeah. Isn't that far out? Yeah.
And in some of the shows you guys have done recently, have had some special themes. You've kind of revisited some periods in the Dead's history. Talk a little bit about the process of digging into these, specific, almost mini genres within the Dead canon. Was it just ones that you guys wanted to revisit some of your favorite periods of the band, or ones that you thought the fans wanted to hear? How did you guys land on some of those trivia nights?
It was always what we wanted to hear. We never played what other people really thought we should play. I don't know why. we just sat up there on stage before the shows and figured out what we were going to play. And some nights we'd write a set for the first set, write out a whole set list, and not play but one song on it. Just Jerry will go into something else, and that would go into something else, and so.
But what about the themes too with Billy and the Kids, the revisiting Spring '90 and Europe '72?
Yeah, that was great. See those guys in both those bands. They're young, hot players. Everybody's young compared to me. They're go-get-it guys, and I love that. And everybody's there to play music and do it the best they can and have a good time doing it, right? There's nobody saying this or that, or you should do it this way, or nobody's being the cop or the parent, so to speak. And it's really a lot of fun for me. It's great fun. We just played in New Orleans. We just did nights down there, so it was good.
No, yeah, and actually, speaking of New Orleans and in Relix, we actually have an interview with Papa Molly about his new album, and
Good,
he actually he has a great quote that you gave him, is that he always considers himself a roots artist, and you told him that he was a psychedelic artist, and he says, well, if Bill Kreutzmann calls me a psychedelic artist, I guess I'm a psychedelic artist. When did you and Papa Molly first meet?
He was playing at the Oregon Country Fair, and I heard him play. I can't remember the other band guys now, but I was really impressed. And after he played that set, I went over and introduced myself, because he didn't recognize me at all. He knew the name, he knew the Grateful Dead, but he didn't know who I was from Adam or anybody. Taylor Swift. You could tell that one. And so I just sat and we talked for a few hours, and we, he lived in New Orleans and was from Louisiana, and then my mom and stuff. So we had a lot in common, and that's how that got started.
Yeah. Well, I know, right after Grateful Dead broke up, you definitely took some time, time off in Hawaii with your family and whatnot. And in the last few years, you've been, touring a ton, and especially, the last few months, it seems like you're on the road all the time, playing many, many gigs. I guess, what kind of reinvigorated you to get on the road and, play with all these different musicians and kind of start barn burning again?
I wish I could answer that with a really good authoritative answer, but I'm just having the time of my life right now. I've gotten to play some of the best shows I've ever done lately. I'm doing some of the best playing I've ever done, and maybe that's because I'm playing a lot.
You really are not.
But I'm like,
honest, he's playing the best drums I've ever seen him or anybody play.
It's embarrassing when people say that.
But I can say that with Scout's honor. I mean, I was a fan beforehand, obviously. So when we were working on a show together and they'd get up on stage, I was expecting to like it, obviously. Right. But then there's been moment after moment after moment where you're just like, really? Like, he dances on the drums right now. You're dancing on the drums.
Good. Really that's a good way to be. I like that.
He's playing the best drums that I've ever seen from anybody.
Cool.
Hands down.
Thank you.
But why is that?
I think part of the reason, again, is the young players I'm playing with. They're real energetic. They don't have a no amongst them. It's always, yes, we can do this. Yes, we can do that. And we sit and we all get along really well. We sit and we talk about this, and should this part of the song be like this? Should we do? We have all these nice things, and I really like that.
But it's more than that, though, I think, because you're happy and you're healthy and you're all these things. But there have been times where you amaze me, where after playing Zodiac, or after playing
Mystic,
the Mystic with Voodoo Dead, he came walking out the stage. We had a friend of mine owned a bar about a block away, and called me and said, hey, afterwards, if you guys want to, there's a space where you guys can hang out, because otherwise the Mystic was going to close down, and we had an hour drive. And so it was like, if you want to hang out at all and decompress, you can come over here, the bar will be closed. And then they sent me a text that said, by the way, there's a drum set here, should we leave it up? And I remember thinking, if I tell them yes, they're going to expect him to play it. And I was like, he's not going to want to play, but sure, it doesn't hurt. And he walks off stage, and the very first thing he says is, I'm not done. Yeah. And I was like, well, the show's over, the kicking everyone out. He's like, I want to keep playing. Yeah. And he looked up at Dave Schools, and Dave was like, if you're in it, I'm in.
Schools wanted to do it too. It wasn't just me.
And then Lebo was just like, well, I guess I'll come for a little bit, guys. That sounds fun. And we walked down the street to Zodiac's, and they pieced everything together. Got a bass rig, pieced it all together. They didn't even tell you about what they're gonna do. There was no set list or anything like that. There's nothing planned, and it wasn't for. There's no tickets. It wasn't for anything other than the fact that they wanted to play music. And it was dawn before it ended. And at one point, Billy, he needed to, he needed to eat, so he gets a hamburger. This is actually funny. Gets a hamburger from the kitchen, which was Slows, but of course they made him one, and they cut it into corners and they put it on the side of the stage. And he goes, put it down on the snare. So I do. So sure enough, he's drumming without skipping a beat. Puts the drumstick under, grabs one of the corners, does that, and it was like in my mind slow-mo. He didn't miss a beat though.
That's why you got 2 hands and 2 legs.
That's why it's a legendary drummer.
Have you done that before? Do you eat meals while you're drumming?
I'm trying to figure this one out. I haven't got that one yet. I get it.
I've led a kind of an unusual life. I was a 16-year-old kid when I started playing with the Grateful Dead. I was following my bliss. Jerry was the lead guitarist. I was the rhythm guitarist.
If you don't have an ego, you can be the best #2 on the planet, and that's kind of what Bob became. The
music was an adventure. The people were an adventurous group. You just had to see it. Mine has been a long, strange trip.